So you want to learn more about the Trend Scout indicator. Okay, so let's just jump in and look at the configuration settings for Trend Scout. First of all, you'll notice that there's these little circles with an eye inside. If you hover over those, they will show you a lot of very helpful information. I'm just going to walk you through a little bit of that right now. We actually spent a lot of time writing and refining what's in here so that you can understand what's going on with the indicator. By default, I've got it set to the default settings that you get when you put the indicator on your charts. By default, it's going to look at the current time frame. And in this case, that's the 5-minute time frame. And if you hover over that info, it tells you everything you need to know to understand what this dropdown is for. But essentially, what the Trend Scout indicator does is it looks at the pivots on multiple time frames and then renders the ones that matter on this chart for you. So specifically, the time frames that it looks at are the 5-minute, the 15-minute, the 1 hour, the 4 hour, the 1 day, the 1 week, and the 1 month. So if you're currently looking at the 5-minute time frame, that is a child time frame of the 15-minute time frame, or if the 15-minute time frame would be considered a parent. So if you chose parent from this dropdown and you're currently on the 5-minute time frame, then that would switch the Trend Scout to look at the 15-minute time frame to draw pivots. So we'll do that right now. Switch to parent, and you're going to see in a moment, there it is. It's switched. And so if you look out here now, the big Q is in this dropdown, and actually I'm going to change the size of that right now just so you can read it a little better. It's normal size. There it is. So 15-minute bullish core continuation, one move. So essentially what it's telling you is that it's drawing trend for the 15-minute time frame, even though you're on the 5-minute time frame. And you'll also notice that the labels dropped any reference to the 5-minute time frame, because when you're looking at the 15-minute time frame, if the Trend Scout is looking at the 15-minute time frame, regardless of what time frame you're on, it treats that as the bottom one. And every time frame above that is what it's concerned about at this point. So if you then chose grandparent and then hover over this, you'll see, okay, so if we're on the 5-minute chart, the parent is the 15-minute and the grandparent would be the 1 hour. So with grandparent selected, it's now showing pivots for the 1 hour time frame. And again, you can zoom out a little bit. You know, the candles become illegible at this point, but now you can see, you know, what is happening on the 1 hour trend. And this could be something you want to do if you're zoomed in on the 5-minute time frame and that's what you're trading, and you just want to have this indicator on in the background, keeping you aware of what things you need to care about on the higher time frame. Let me zoom out just a little bit. We'll play this out. Look, there's your 1 hour resistance, right? And so you held this low. You're basically, at some point now, I think it might realize that it needed to set. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. There it is. It realized now that it did set that higher low. Barely. It just barely did it. And then it is continuing up. But either way, you know, if you're in here throughout the day, maybe you didn't get this entry. So over here, you're like, oh, I wonder if I should try to get in here. Well, how much room is left? What's the potential of distance that it could travel before it ran into any kind of trouble on the hourly time frame, even though I'm down here on the 5? Now I know I can look at this and see, oh, well, 1 hour resistance is up here at 458 roughly. So do I want to get in here? Well, yeah, I mean, I've got basically $8-ish all the way up to here, if it can get that far. You know, it's up to you what trades you want to take. But that's what that setting does. The next one down here is show support. Actually, I'm just going to switch this back to current so we can see more resistances and stuff drawn on the chart. Okay, so now we can see a bunch of resistances and supports. So the next one down here, support/resistance lines, it says show both, or you could show the opposite of scout or none. So what that means is, I'll just show you. Well, it says so here. Show both shows both the red resistance lines and the green support lines. Show opposite of scout means that it will only show support or resistance lines in the opposition of the scout direction. For example, if it's scouting a high, it will show the resistance. If it's scouting a low, it will show support. Again, this is just if you find that you don't want to have your screen cluttered with stuff, this is a way for you to basically get rid of the things that you don't currently matter about. So show opposite of scout. Select that. One of them is going to disappear. So you're scouting a high or low, so it's only showing you these supports, right? And then let's move forward a little bit. Wait till that, oh, now it's set, right? Now it's scouting a higher high. Now it flipped over and it's showing you the resistances. And then it'll do the same thing again. There, it flipped to looking for the supports, flip to looking for resistances, because we're in a bit of a consolidation range here. And I think it did this for the rest of the day, but you get the idea. And then finally, if you just don't want to see them at all, just go none. And then all the supports and resistances will go away. And you don't need to concern yourselves with them. I don't know why you would want that. TrendScout kind of, the magic of it is that it shows you the supports and resistances you need to care about. But if you don't want to show them, you absolutely have the option to do that. Let's put them back on. Show pivot price levels is one that I leave off by default, but just in case you want to see them, I'm going to turn it on here. And there you see what it does. It basically highlights the pivot prices for you so you can see what they were at those different spots. So some people like to see those on their pivots. And so that's an option for you. Show support resistance percentages. What that means is over here on the labels on the right-hand side in parentheses, I show you a percentage which represents the percent that that level is away from price right now. And this will basically remove that from the labels for you if you don't care about that. But I have it on by default because for me, I trade with percentages. Use abbreviations on labels is checked by default, but you can uncheck it and then you'll see these switch. There, it switched over here from LL to lower low. So turn it back on. You'll see this label change. LLC. So it's really just making it so your labels don't take up so much space. Label offset is, again, you can hover over here to see, but this label and these labels here, if you don't want them smushed up against price, you can increase the distance that they get pushed out to the right-hand side. So you just get a little bit of breathing room away from, there it is. So you get a little bit of breathing room away from the current price action that you're seeing on the chart. And then left, right, this one is for advanced users only. Getting a little technical here, but the way that it decides how and when to identify a pivot is by looking at the candles before and the candles after and determining, was a high set or a low set based on the candles that it's seeing in that little range. And that's adjustable. We've chosen 5 and 5 because as we were developing TrendScout, these were the numbers that worked the best for us. You can adjust those if you want to, and you'll start to see just some different results probably. So actually, I'm just going to jump out to the daily chart, and I'll show you what this can look like when you mess with those. So as you can see, okay, so we've set some highs and lows. There's some here, why was that not a pivot? Or why was this not a pivot? Or why was this not a pivot? You might start to ask those questions. Why was this one here not ignored? Why didn't it go here and then up? Okay, well, let's mess with these settings and let's see what happens. Let's try decreasing to 3 on each. So now it's looking left and right, 3. And now it did. You see, if you decrease the number of candles that it cares about, now it's able to see the tighter little pivots in there, right? But for our practices, we found that 5 and 5 were great. You can go even bigger. You can go 12. I mean, I don't think there's actually a limit on how big you can make these, but you start to get some pretty different results. The bigger the numbers are, the longer it's going to take for it to realize that, for example, this here is a pivot, right? So it's going to need to see a few more days in that direction because it's looking at 12 candles in each direction before it decides that this is a pivot. So that's why we like to have a smaller number here, because we like to see the pivots arrive sooner. Otherwise, it's going to be patient. It saw that because we're, however many candles this is. It looks like 10 or something candles over that way. But if we moved over to less than 5, you'll see, look, it hasn't identified that candle as the bottom of this pivot yet, because it's only had 1, 2, 3 candles on that side. Let's see, 4, 5. There, boom, the 6th candle arrives, and now it realizes, okay, yeah, that was the pivot, and it marks it that way. Finally, here we have the colors and size. So this is the appearance of the lines themselves, the support and resistance lines. And you can modify your colors and the thickness of the lines and the size of the labels. And that's it.